This procedure demonstrates the internal components for the 5600 series valve. This is the teardown procedure for the 5600. Over here we have the mechanical version. On this side we have our electronic SXT version. As we rotate them to the rear, we can see that our connection points for the piston as well as the power head removal are in the same location. So for the purposes of this video, we'll be using the mechanical version. To begin the disassembly, if yours has a meter, we move to the cable and pull upwards. We then move it out of the way. This gives us access to the 2 screws that hold the power head down to the valve, as well as the 1 screw that holds the piston to the power head. We can remove the 3 screws, and then move to the screw that holds the piston. Once these are removed, we can pull forward on the power head, tilting upwards. This gives us access to the 3 screws that hold the top plate down. These screws are of a shorter length, so make note during reassembly to put them into these 3 locations. Once the 3 screws are removed, we can pull up and remove the top plate. This gives us access to our brine assembly. The brine valve is located at the top. We can pull straight up on this to remove it. We can inspect the O-ring as well as press down on the top and inspect the plunger area to make sure there is no scoring or damage. We would want to replace as necessary. Make note, there are different lengths of brine valves, such as this unit for our 9000 valve, or this unit, such as the one used in our 7000. These are of a longer length, so make sure when you are replacing, you get the correct part of the correct length. We can then remove the 2 screws that hold the cap onto the injector assembly. We can then remove the injector assembly from the body of the valve. We remove the cap and inspect the O-ring that is on the back side to make sure it is secure. We then have access to the screen. The water flows across the screen before it gets to the injector, so we want to make sure that this is free of any debris and there is no damage to it. We then have access to our 2-piece injector. This unit uses our 1600 system for injectors. The top piece we use a large slotted screwdriver in order to remove. We then use a smaller slotted screwdriver in order to gain access to the inner piece. This also unthreads. We want to make sure that when we have these injectors out, we check to make sure that there is no damage to any of the openings or orifices or the threads, as the spacing between the 2 is essential to make sure that the injector works properly. Make note that if you do need to replace components, there are different materials, colors, and sizes available to handle different pressures and different size tanks. If replacement parts are necessary, make sure to match the color and material for your system, as this is what it's designed to use. Make note that if you have a filter, you'll just have a 1-piece assembly. There is actually no opening in the center of this. As we move back to the brine assembly, we can go to the brass piece, which is our brine line flow control. This is removed by using a 3/4 inch wrench in order to unthread it. Once removed, we want to look into the orifice in the center of the unit to make sure it is free and clear. This controls how much water runs out to the brine tank for a softener. If necessary, when we replace this, we want to match the tag that is on the front, such as this one that is rated for ½ gallon per minute, with the brine line flow control in order to make sure the unit works properly. On the rear of the unit is where our drain line flow control is. Using the special tool, we unthread the keeper. Once this is removed, we have access to the flow washer. On the face of the washer, there will be a series of numbers. This is how much water would be flowing to drain during the backwash cycle. This should be indicated on the tag that is on the valve. Make sure to reference this and match it if you need to replace this. On the back side of the injector assembly, there are 3 O-rings that seal this to the body. Make sure to check these and re-lubricate during assembly. We then move over to the body. In the openings where the injector are, there is a lower and an upper. The upper should have the white flow disperser. This is opposite where the injector assembly is. After that, we can move to the top piston assembly. The piston assembly is the shaft as well as the cap. We pull upward on the assembly, removing it from the body. This particular piston uses a white cap. This is a softener piston for a downflow mechanical valve. Electronic units will use a green cap for filter and softener applications. There is also a black piston cap for filter applications that are run mechanically. There are many more piston applications, so make sure that when you need replacement, you match the cap color to ensure the valve will work properly. We then have access to the seals and spacers that are inside the valve. We can pull these out, making sure to count how many we remove. For this valve, there will be 4 spacers and 5 seals. For special applications, we do have different seal and spacer materials, so make sure to match them for your valve. To begin our reassembly, we gather the stuffer tool, a new set of seals and spacers, and the approved silicone lubricant. We lubricate all of the O-rings for the seals in order to make sure that they are properly lubricated for the moving piston. The top end with the stainless steel, we press the seal into the top of it. Once we have pressed this in, we move over to the valve body and press the seal down in. We tap the outside in order to make sure that the seal is seated. We then put a spacer onto the end. Flipping the tool over, we use it to align the spacer and make sure it is in the body nice and snug. We can also tap down as we did with the seals. For the remainder of the seals and spacers, we continue the process to add lubricant to the seals, add them into the body, using the tool to help make sure we guide them in. Once we have all of our seals and spacers in, it should sit below the edge about 1/8 of an inch. This gives room for our top cap to come in and compress all of our seals and spacers tightly. We press the piston down straight into the center, noting that the cap will be up about 1/16 of an inch from the body. This will compress when the top plate is reinstalled. The remainder of the reassembly is the reverse of removal. Good luck, and thanks for watching.